what you saw was what she was, and unashamedly unabashed about her opinions, her self-belief. And that powered her through this extraordinary career. And I became very taken with trying to make sense of it in that arrogant way biographers have.
Someone who knew Vivienne Westwood very well, worked closely with her, is the award-winning biographer Ian Kelly, who worked with the designer to write her memoir back in 2014. And I'm really pleased to say joins the programme this afternoon. Ian, welcome.
Hello, hi there.
Can I start by asking for your memories of working with Dame Vivienne Westwood in writing this memoir? Were there any surprises along the way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't see it coming at all. I, toil a lot in the 18th century, and we used to joke that we met there. She'd read a book of mine about Beau Brummel and kind of the origins of Savile Row tailoring, that kind of thing. And I had a call from my agent, would I, like to go for lunch with Vivienne Westwood? And of course I said, yes, I'd love to. I'd long been a fan. I've been very intrigued by her as long as I can remember having an interest in clothes. And, amazing just hearing her talk then. It's a very sad day, obviously, and forgive me, so I'm a bit wobbly. I kind of think we took it for granted, or rather, what an astonishing loss to London and this culture, this woman, who's endlessly surprising, actually, took my breath away repeatedly. Sometimes really shocking. Really fabulously rude. I used to rather like that about her, that she just kind of would say it. But also, surprising. I went along to lunch, and she wanted somebody to kind of co-write an autobiography with her. And it was a very unusual project for a writer, not least because I'd usually dealt with archives and things, and suddenly there was the real, source in front of me. A lot of interviews, a lot of time with her, at the cutting table, as it were, where we'd, talk and write. And then it turned out she had actually started an autobiography some years before. So she handed that over, and then it became this sort of back and forth, her voice, which, as you would have just heard, is so strong and distinctive, not just, her Derbyshire accent, which she kept all her life, but also such a curious mind in every sense, and such a interesting way of thinking. And that's what infuses the clothes. It's about ideas and thoughts, and her curiosity and her passion for making every moment count, and really caring about the world and making sure that you're paying attention. She said once, our duty is to try to understand. And, every day you should make sure you're trying to be your best self, as well as dress your best. And amazing. So, sorry, what was the question?
You've answered it beautifully. You've kind of pointed towards this, Ian, already, but she was a woman who had an incredibly impressive long career, which was one full of contradictions. She was a fashion designer who spoke out against consumerism. And as you've already reflected, somebody who was sparky, fabulously rude, as you put it, at times. How much was the person you worked with on writing the memoir a true reflection of the outspoken, somewhat eccentric figure that she had become to be known as in British culture?
Oh, totally authentic. It was never a pose. It wasn't sort of, for purposes of, of press, the way that sometimes you kind of think people are being kind of, RC on Twitter because it gets them followers. Not Vivienne, no. What you saw was what she was, and unashamedly unabashed about her opinions, her self-belief. And that powered her through this extraordinary career. And I became very taken with trying to make sense of it in that arrogant way biographers have of, there must be a shape to this. And I would talk to her about, the origins of some of her eco passions in kind of utility clothing, and that wartime generation that properly know about, recycling and make do and mend, because that's what they grew up with, and that she came back around to that. But actually, I think she was just constantly chasing and challenging herself as well. Self-taught largely. A reader, a passionate reader all the time. The best fashion accessory is a book. is one of the lines that obviously spoke to me as a writer. But she used that knowledge to tell stories with clothes, and then also to use that position to try and say what she wanted to say. And I get that people, it was open to criticism because it's an uncomfortable position, a dandy pose, if you like, to try and say something serious with the supposedly frivolous business of clothes. But no, sod that. It's important. Clothes are important. It's one of the art forms we all of us have a daily relationship with. And as you were alluding to earlier, she, and McLaren in the early days kind of changed some of the cultural landscape of London and of this country. And you forget, she's so famous through the rest of the world, one of the absolute images of what Britain is, and brought so much to the mainstream that we kind of take for granted now in terms of recycled clothing and kind of bricolage, applique stuff in clothing, and slogans on t-shirts, and undergarments as outer garments, and the modern corset, and the platform shoe, and on and on and on. These things that they were her. They weren't people who'd trained in fashion, but somebody who came from the outside, but with this amazing mind and spirit. And one thing that did surprise me, I guess, because she had a reputation for being kind of earnest and even kind of scratchy. She was really funny and delightful company, and she was a wonderful friend to people near and around her. And I tried to also tell that kind of modern fairy tale, that she'd hate me for saying that out loud. There was somebody who was kind of a single working mother, 2 young sons, who founded a fashion empire, initially with a sewing machine in a back room in Clapham.
And leaves an incredible legacy. Ian, we'll have to leave it there, but really appreciate you joining us and paying a beautiful tribute to Vivienne Westwood, Dame Vivienne Westwood, who died yesterday at the age of 81.